And there's a dude list. Of course, Khamzat 1, he's coming up. We're talking about him in a minute. Volkanovski 7, he's fighting this week. Is Ian Gary on there? What about Ian Gary? Where's Ian Gary? Ian Gary's not in the top 20. Max Holloway's at 20. Wow. Man, the dude list is getting tough, man. Colby Covington's dropping quick. I have a feeling he's going to be out of the top 20 if he doesn't get his butt together. Sean Strickland's down at 16. My goodness. Aljamain Sterling's barely hanging on. Dvalishvili could win and move up. Ian Gary can win and probably got to move into 15 because he's undefeated. I mean, Bo Nickel, Ian Gary, Khamzat, these are the guys that are coming in the future. Make no mistake about it. I mean, they're coming. So as we shift gears to Khamzat, it's crazy, all the talk that he's hype, that he doesn't want to fight. People got a lot to say about Khamzat. But I'm here to tell you, the guy wants to fight, man. He wants to fight. And the fact that he still doesn't have a fight is just crazy. And, part of the thing is nobody wants to fight him, too. There's some guys that want to fight him, but then Khamzat don't want to fight them, and Khamzat's injured and all this stuff. You just got a lot of things, man, going on. And the time is now for this guy. He's got to get it now so he can dominate for 2 or 3 years. But he's also got to take any fight he can get. It's at that point where you just got to keep beating people. You keep beating people, man. These storylines of not having a lot of middleweight fights and all this are going to just fade away. And then they're going to have no choice but to make it, just forget about waiting for the title fight. Make it to where the UFC has no choice. And it's time for you to fight. We've seen that with a lot of other guys. You have the best chance to do it. And it's time. It's time to make it happen. If you're Khamzat, it's time to make it happen. Because you got people talking that, like, you're fake, you're not real, you're not as good as they say you are. I mean, it's just wild, man.
Whoa!
I mean, Khamzat will beat anyone on the planet right now. Please believe it. Anyone steps in the octagon with Khamzat, the night's not going to finish well for you. That's just all I got to say about it. You already know how I feel. Every time we do a live stream, not so much the podcast, we try to keep it, what's coming up this week, and we'll get into Khamzat here and there. When we do these other live streams on YouTube and stuff, man, it always leans into Khamzat, and it takes over 60% of the time. Even the fans, not fans, but just in the chat room, people are always talking Khamzat. That's what people want to talk about, especially who doesn't have a fight, because everyone wants to know who he's fighting. That's the bottom line. Got one way in saying I agree that the UFC has gotten it quite wrong often on the roadmap for Chimaev. However, is the UFC to blame for his long list of illnesses, injuries, visa problems, Ramadan, etc.? He's a too complex fighter with a tangle of issues around him, which means that he's just fighting one time a year since 2021. And I get the gist of it. I get what you're saying. And these are worthy arguments if you're not a Khamzat fan. I'm a Khamzat fan. But I will keep it real, and I'll tell Khamzat straight up, you got to get in the octagon. It doesn't matter who it's against. And you just got to keep beating people, man. You just got to keep fighting right now. You got to get fights. Because then the momentum of the fans build, even the ones that don't like you, have got to see you fight for the title now because you've beaten everybody. Or 3 or 4, I don't know. And I know Khamzat don't want to do that, but he just got to go off for a year. Like, he's got to make 2024, 2025. I'm going to go beat 3 people this year and 3 people next year. And it's going to be whatever. One of those 6 is going to be for the title. And just start doing it. So we're not sitting here next year after one more fight and another year wasted. Like, it is time. I get it. I get it. Pandora, I believe, says at Crisscross MMA. Yes. If Khamzat refuses to fight at 300, the UFC is going to mess with him, screw him. Dana White has already been screwing him over for not making weight against Nate Diaz and ruining that event. So they will never forget him. He can say goodbye to a title shot for a long season. And I'm not mad that he missed weight at the end of the day, because the UFC in that situation was using him. What does Khamzat need to fight Nate Diaz for? And I'm telling you, this is a Nate Diaz fan. The guy's not ranked. It does nothing for him. He beats Usman, who's a much higher level than Nate Diaz right now. And look at all the excuses after that. So he goes in there and beats Nate Diaz. Then it's like Nate Diaz is no good, and he's old, and he's not the same person, and all this, there's really no point. So he was being used by the UFC, and I'm not mad at him. I'm not mad at him at all. So Khamzat's going to continue doing what he's doing, and eventually they're going to have no choice but to put him in for the title fight. They're going to have to, and that's just the bottom line. But since he's not getting a title fight now, he's got to go and fight whoever, whenever, and as much as possible. I think I'm going to have to start to take that direction too, as I talk more and more about the topic, is that he's got to fight. I don't care who. It doesn't have to be for the title right now. We've been going through this for 2 years. He's not getting a title fight. It don't matter if he beats number 3 Gilbert Burns or one of the best men on the planet, Kamaru Usman. It doesn't matter. Everyone's mad that he didn't fight Nate Diaz, because we're looking at Nate Diaz 2016 and not Nate Diaz 2023. It's a whole different era now. He was being used to sell tickets, to sell pay-per-view. It would, and it is what it is. I'm not mad about it at all. Again, the UFC is a business. That's what they have to do. No one's even getting on the UFC or Dana White or nobody. It's like, but understand the situation. That in no way did anything for Khamzat. Even if he goes in there, in best case scenario, beats Nate Diaz, KOs him in the first round, it does nothing for a title fight. Okay, it blows him up, but who cares? Is he going to get a title fight? No, because they're still going to let Colby fight Leon. They're still going to, go through this whole process like this. And then now let Bilal fight. And, so Khamzat's like, let me go to middleweight because that looks more wide open. Then all of a sudden Adesanya falls. And when the champion falls, the division gets crazy, because it's especially, Leon's going to hold the belt for a while, I think, here. But with Adesanya falling in the middleweight division, now you got, Strickland won it, then Duplessis takes it over. Duplessis might be the next guy, or Khamzat will come up soon and beat him, and then, or the UFC wants to sell UFC Africa now, so he's on the, just all these things are going against Khamzat right now, to where he's left on the sideline, and it's not fun as a fan at all.
He's gon' fight, he's gon' fight, hold your breath till the end of the night. Last fight of call, UFC at its height, bringing that thunder with all his might, saying step up, wanna fight, hold up, think twice, gladiator, assassin, reckless, no abandon, walk through that cage, he'll leave your ass stranded. Wake up, hey, where you at? Hey, got hit in the head with a baseball bat.